Ayo, welcome. Ooh, get that out of there. Welcome to the Best Day Ever podcast. It's your boy, Tru Sav. Ooh, haven't talked to you guys in a while. Got to make sure to keep things fresh here. A little recap. I know it's been a while. I've been eating like a saint, like a absolute saint. It's been 40 days. Nothing but plant-based, all raw fruits and vegetables. No nothing. No soda, no bread, no meat, nothing like that. So I'm super excited. I know you can hear it in my voice. Well, let me stop lying. Last week, I went to Taco Bell. And I have to admit, I had 2 spicy potato soft tacos with no cheese. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I let you guys down. I know. It was supposed to be nothing but plant-based, and I was doing great. But the missus wanted to go, so I broke down and I went with her. I know. But that's all right. I'm still going to the gym. I've been pretty solid with that. So things are looking up. I'm almost back in fighting weight. I'm almost there. Things will be good. First and foremost, Spotify, iTunes. iTunes is good. You can find me on iTunes. TRU space SAV. Spotify, you're going to have to look a little bit harder. I talked to Spotify, and they said if I want to be in the top search list, I have to pay them to be in the top of the search list. So we're going back and forth with that right now. But if you just look up a past episode, you can find it like that and then follow. Once you follow, all the new episodes will come. Let's see. Anything else exciting? Nothing exciting. We have some tragic news. Tragic news. Over the weekend, it was Labor Day weekend, and I got a random message on Facebook from a young lady that I haven't seen in years since I lived in Sacramento. And the message started with, "Oh, hey, what's up? How are you doing?" And before I could respond, she immediately told me that a really good friend of mine, top 5 all world, had passed away. And I was shocked because top 5 is maybe 4 years younger than me. So this, it hurt. It hurt bad because she came to the wedding. She came to my wife and I's wedding. I had seen her a couple months after, and I had thought about it. I was like, you know what? I really need to call her. I haven't checked in on her in a while. See what's going on with her, and I got this news. So it was a rough Labor Day weekend, guys. I'm here to tell you. I met now the name Top 5 All World. I know that sounds strange. Like, what does that mean? So whenever we'd be playing video games or playing some sort of a trivia game or an activity, she would always say, "Oh, I'm the best at that. Like, you can't beat me at that. I'm this and that." So we gave her the nickname Top 5 All World, meaning that she's top 5 in the entire world in whatever activity we're participating in. And she was a salve to no end. She, oh man. When I met her, I didn't remember the story, but she would always tell people how we met. And how we met was summer school of high school. And she being a freshman, me being a senior, and she was hanging out with some of the people I hung out with. And she told the story as she was talking to some guy, or some guy was hitting on her. And I had told her that she needed to be careful with the type of guy she was talking to, because guys will lie and misrepresent their true intentions to try to get with you. And you're an attractive young lady, and I don't want to see that type of thing happen to you. It sounds like something I would say. I can't recall that specifically, but that was our first interaction. And after that, I didn't see her until after I graduated from high school. I saw her at Liquor Tree. Shout out to South Sac. She was going into the store. I was leaving. I was like, "Hey, didn't you go to Elk Grove? It's like, yeah, oh, hit me up, whatever, we should kick it. And things just fell back into place. I'd hang out there all the time, stay the night. We had so many stories. That'll be a different podcast. The Tales of Top 5 All World. But yeah, man, it that actually changed our topic for today. Like that happening. The topic today was going to be, is it okay to not like your family? But we switched it. I don't know what we're going to call it yet, but it made me start to think about, cause she has a daughter that's 17, almost 18. And she didn't have the greatest home life. Top 5 didn't. But she made sure that her daughter did. She sent her to private school. Whatever illicit activities we were taking part in on the weekend, she made sure to never let her child see. And I always respected that, because a lot of times people will let the two worlds collide. Meaning they'll have friends over and they'll have their kids out while they're drinking and carrying on and so on and so forth. And I always respected the fact that she never did that in front of her daughter. She always made an effort to not let her daughter see that side of her. Now, that's not to say it didn't happen, but it wasn't an every weekend, every day type of thing. And it made me start to think about the sacrifices and such that my parents had made. And even though we had differences of opinions on certain things, mainly, well, it made me, my parents were, because again, like I said before, my parents were a generation older than me. My parents were 30 years older. Well, my parents were in their 30s, mid-30s, late 30s when they had me. So things were different. They had different views on race, morality, society in general. And they didn't necessarily try to impose their beliefs on me. But one of the things that I would always tell them was that I appreciate all the knowledge you're trying to impart on me, but you're preparing me for a world that doesn't really exist anymore. And what I mean by that is, yeah, going to college was what you were supposed to do back in the day. That's what happened. You went to school, you got a job, you worked in the factory 30, 40 years, you got your pension, you retired, you were good. Or you bought a house, you lived in the house. But the way the world is now, that same ideology isn't going to work. That's not the reality of life right now. But I appreciated it. I mean, I think a lot of times we don't appreciate the sacrifices that parents make, or we don't understand the sacrifices that they make until you become an adult. I mean, specifically, my mom worked a second job so that I could live in an apartment in the school district I needed to be in, so I could play sports. And at the time, I didn't think about it. It was just like, oh, this, whatever. I got somewhere to kick it at on the weekend. It's popping. But now as an adult, I look back, especially thinking about top 5, and it's like, these are the sacrifices that people make as parents for their children. Your children don't necessarily understand it, or they see it as you're trying to impose your will on me. I know for damn sure I thought my parents were, especially with their views on morality, like making me go to church all the time. I didn't understand. I was like, what do you mean? Like, why do I have to go to church? Why do I have to do this? I would rather be watching football on Sunday. I'd rather be doing anything but being at Bible study on Wednesdays. I for damn sure don't want to be up early Saturday morning, walking through these neighborhoods, trying to quote unquote soul win. It's like, if these people don't want to hear about God or what we're talking about, leave them be. It's not my responsibility. Especially when Saturday morning cartoons were on and popping back in the 90s. That That just wasn't my deal. But now as an adult, I see like, oh, it's not the fact of going to church or anything like that. It's the lessons that are being taught. And now as an adult, I can sit back and say, okay, I see what you're saying. Now I see why you wanted me to do this. And usually in most cases, it's too late. Most kids don't see it. They see it as an adversarial thing. Like, oh, you just want me to live how you lived and so on and so forth. And we don't really understand until it's too late or until you become an adult and we do the same thing that we all say. It's like, you were right the whole time. Why didn't I just listen to what you were talking about? And as an adult, you're like, yeah, fool, I wasn't telling you just to hear myself talk. That's played out more than a few times. I can think of a few friends that didn't understand what their parents were saying. Even when I was younger, I understood to a certain extent, like chores and such. I didn't really argue about that. For some weird reason, I enjoyed cleaning the house on Saturday morning. It was kind of my responsibility. I knew if I wanted to leave, I was gonna have to do these chores. Like that's just the way it went. Like there was no, I'm not gonna do these chores and get to leave. That wasn't an option. So it was Saturday morning. You would get up. You're a kid, so usually about 8, 9. Watch Saturday morning cartoons for a little while. 10 o'clock rolled around, TV was off. Because usually around 10 o'clock, that's when all the adult stuff came on and all the cartoons were over. So that's when we turned the TV off. Turned on some Stevie Wonder, maybe some George Benson, something like that. And cleaning started. Usually started in the front and work your way to the back. So that would be, have to move all the furniture and vacuum. Have to move the rug, vacuum, water all the plants, dust off the bookshelves and such. Then I would always go front to back. So I would start with the kitchen. I'd clean the counters, so clean off all the counters, do the dishes, mop the floor, then bam, make a new mop water, go to the bathroom, do the shower, do the counters, mop the floor, throw that water out, and then hit my room. Figure maybe by 11:30 be done, 11:30, 12. So then now I had a bargaining chip. I could ask, hey, can I go here? Can I go there? Can so-and-so come over? Because now I'm done. I did my little chores for the day. There's nothing they can really say. The house is clean. Smells like Pine Sol or whatever. Yeah, Pine Sol. A little Pine Sol in there, some Windex for the bathroom. So I knew I had a bargaining chip. Now, the first time I discovered that not everyone had the same sort of attitude towards cleaning was high school, because that was the first time I was really going to other people's house. And a friend of mine, he had gotten, number one, he got kicked out of school, so that was already a foreign concept to me. So he was homeschooled, so he would be at home all day when we would be at school. We came to his house after school, and he lived in Camden Passage. It was a nice newer neighborhood, usually 3-4 bedroom houses. I think his was a 5 and it was a 2-story house. His mom had asked him to do the dishes. Just do the dishes. Not even clean the rest of the house, nothing like that. And he told her to her face, no, he wasn't going to do it. And so in my experience, I just backed up slowly away from him because I knew he was going to get punched. I was like, there's no way he's not going to get assaulted right now. So him and his mom started to go back and forth, and I interjected. I was like, sorry. I was like, why don't you just wash the dishes? This was me talking to the friend. He's like, well, I don't want to. I was like, well, how much do you pay in rent here? He's like, well, I don't. I was like, well, what bills do you pay around here? He's like, well, I don't. I was like, well, here, check this out. You're going to wash the dishes right now, or I'm going to beat your ass. How about that? And his mom just kind of looked at me confused. And I was like, you're not just going to disrespect your mom right now and just say you're not going to clean up after you just sat your ass here all day? Nah, bro. And his mom, a smile like I've never seen before. And came over his mom, and she was like, "Whenever you want to come over, you can feel free to come over." And again, I wasn't trying to be a bully or anything, but it was almost like, why are you disrespecting someone who is obviously affording you a lifestyle that you can't afford on your own, and you have the nerve to tell that you're not going to do something to make their life easier? Like I didn't understand. Now, in hindsight, I don't know the intricacies of their relationship, the mother-son relationship. I don't know. Obviously, that type of behavior was acceptable, where she didn't do anything about it up till that point. So I don't know. But I think in certain people's relationships, how they view their parent. Well, I'm sorry, not how they view their parent, but sometimes parents can try to live vicariously through their kids. And well, that's in terms of sports and such. But I mean, other times parents will push their views onto their children in a negative manner. Example being, I've been to a couple of houses where I felt super uncomfortable because I knew that their parents were racist, without a doubt, 100%. They didn't have to say anything. And I wanted to ask my friend, like, why did you bring me over here? Like, I get it. Like, you're cool. But your parents obviously aren't down with this. And sometimes they would be oblivious to it. They'd be like, oh, no, you're tripping. I was like, no, I know that look. And it's sometimes people will resent their parents for beliefs that they hold. I remember, a specific incident with me. I remember when I told my mom she was a racist because she had told me that you have to be 2 times as good as the Caucasian students in your class just to get accepted. So if you're applying for a job, if you got C's and they've got C's, they're going to take the Caucasian kid. You have to have A's and A pluses, even if they're, say, C student. And I told her, I was like, you're racist. Like, that's not true. Like, nobody thinks like that. And she told me, it's like, you just don't know what you're talking about. Like, that's the problem. And now, as an adult, it's absolutely 100% true. But as a child, I didn't get that. But then there's people, the opposite side of that is there's people who are told that they're better than a Hispanic person, a black person, a white person, an Asian person, based strictly on race. And as a child, you only know what your parents tell you. So you don't know to question what's being said. You just accept it. This being the same thing with other friends parents who are homophobic, other people's parents who are alcoholics, or they project their fears and insecurities onto their kids about how the world is. I don't want you to hang around with these kind of people because that thing will happen, or stuff like that. The worst, I would think, well, not the worst, but a major thing would be the living vicariously. So trying to push your dreams onto your kid. I think that's the quickest way to make your kids resent you. Absolutely. Because I've played sports my entire life, and there was always that kid whose parents pushed and pushed and pushed, and you're in this all-star league and that all-star league, and you're playing this and that, and it's at a certain point, if the kid or if the child doesn't have that same sort of drive or desire to play, it's just going to manifest itself into a hatred for you, just an outright hatred. Luckily, my parents weren't like that. It wasn't that type of thing, but I've seen it where kids are adults now. Kids that I grew up with, where that's all they did was sports, sports, sports. They're going to make it. They're going to make it, and they don't. And now, as adults, it's not that they don't know how to interact, but it's almost like they missed a part of their childhood because it was spent driving to tournaments here and tournaments there, and it's almost, dare I say, embarrassing. Because if you were supposed to be the guy and that's what you're known for, I mean, it's one thing to be 23, 24, oh, I could make it. It's another thing to be 40 and to be known as the guy that didn't make it. Really good example of that. There is a documentary. The name of it escapes me at the moment. I'll look it up while I'm talking. It was a guy who was, at the time, he was supposed to be better than LeBron. And, oh my gosh, it is right there on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. But I ended up watching it. And the story goes, oh, hold on. Here we go. Lenny Cook. There we go. Yeah, the documentary is about a guy named Lenny Cook. And in the documentary, he was balling out of control. Like, one of the main points in the movie is him and LeBron face off in a summer league game. And I think LeBron won the game, but dude was still the number one. He was still the number one touted recruit. And it shows how all of this went to his head. And he ended up switching schools, and he went to another high school outside of the area. And then at the time, the NBA had changed the rules about coming out of high school. So he ended up going to a junior college, and you know how that is. And things didn't necessarily play out the way he wanted them to. And in the documentary, he was he was older than Carmelo, because Carmelo went to Syracuse for a year. I think LeBron was a year behind him, so LeBron came straight out of high school. But it showed his life and the progression, and I think he was 31, 32, and he was living in a double wide in Virginia, and they were having a birthday party. And the guy who actually made the documentary was Joakim Noah, the guy who played for the Bulls for a while. And in the video, he brings this guy, Lenny Cook, to a game. And Melo's there. I don't think LeBron was there. But they're talking, and you can kind of see there was a moment in the video where he was giving Carmelo a hard time. This is in high school. He said, yeah, Carmelo, you could do it. You could do whatever that he's giving him a hard time. And then to see it come full circle, and you see Carmelo come out in his runway outfit and almost dismiss dude. Like, he saw him and he's like, oh yeah, you used to be somebody, wooty whoop. And then fast forward to them having this birthday party for Lenny Cook in this double wide, and he was partying and he was almost brought to tears. Well, he started crying, and it was kind of the potential lost, and thinking about what his life could be. He was talking about how his son's favorite player is LeBron and how he was better than him. And it just kind of, it was sad to see, because he was pushed and pushed, and I don't think it was something that he wanted to do, but he was good. And there were so many people that had their hands out. And at one point in the documentary, they asked him if he had to do it all over again, would he do it different? And he said no, which was surprising to me. And he said he wouldn't do it different because the money that he took from the boosters or people that were giving him money to sign these contracts, he had bought a home for his mom. And as a 16, 17-year-old from the neighborhood he was from, the promise of money isn't really anything. He wanted the guaranteed money that he could do something with right now, and that changed his mom's life. Granted, he could have went to the NBA. He could have been as big as LeBron. You'll never really know. But for him, that's what it was. And he was happy with it. So in that particular circumstance, I guess he's not too resentful about what happened because a lot of those choices were his. The flip side of it is I've seen kids whose parents did push them like that, push them to go to this tournament, push them to go to this school. I know a kid who went to 5 different high schools, chasing championships, chasing the best team, and now at 40, when you got nothing to show for it, it's just kind of, you could have enjoyed the high school experience. And he has a kind of jaded view toward his parents because it's like, it's your job to tell me not to do stuff like that. Like, you shouldn't be encouraging that. Like, that's not your role as the parent. Like, you're supposed to protect and guide, not try to use me as a pawn to better your life. Like, that's not what's up. But a lot of things, I know this isn't even a sports related one, but one story that kind of blew my mind and I wasn't really aware of is physical and mental abuse in the house. That's not really something that happened in our household. Like, I rarely remember my father or mother raising their voice at each other or at us. I mean, if you did something, like, you knew what time it was, like, it would go ahead and go get the belt, go to your room, you already know what it is. But just yelling out of anger or anything like that, or just physical violence for the sake of physical violence, no, not that. There was a girl I went to school with who she was a popular young girl. She was a year below me, and she was attractive. And I remember talking to phonetics, and he had told me she always seemed tense, like she never really seemed comfortable anywhere. And I remember he had told me he was in English class with her, and you had to write a creative story or something. You had to write some kind of essay. And so one of the essays in class, he said it was about a girl whose father was molesting her, and he would follow her to school, and like the police had to get called, and this, and people were like, how did you make that up? Like, that's such a great story. Obviously no one knew who the story was about, but people were like, wow, like, who made that up? Like, that's a good story. And he said later on in class, the girl confessed to him that was her. And when he told me, I was like, I don't even know how to respond to that. Like, that's something, it boggles the mind, especially as a child. I was a child when I heard this. So I was like, her dad is what? Because up until that point, when I was in high school, that sort of thing wasn't something that was talked about. It wasn't an open subject. Stuff like that was stranger danger. Some strange person kidnaps you and that happens, but it's not a direct family member, mother, father. It's usually an uncle or boyfriend or something like that. So that was beyond my grasp, or that was beyond my comprehension at the time. It was, that was a bit out there. And then a lot of times kids will resent their parents for disciplining them. Oh, I can't go out with my friends. Oh, you won't let me do this. You won't let me do that. I know I understood, because my father's favorite line was, I'm not your friend, I'm your father. So I don't want to hear these stupid ass stories about you guys going out, doing stuff like that. I don't want to hear about, oh, we did this to so-and-so, or we were drinking, or really, like, I don't want to hear that. Because all that's going to do is make me say, you can't go out next time. And it was, they pushed a hard line. Like, it wasn't, I definitely wasn't wild per se. I did my fair share of stuff. I mean, I'm a Tru Sav. What do you expect? But my sort of thing was coming in late from curfew. I might have a drink or two, smoke some weed, but I was never sneaking out of the house, taking the car, sneaking girls in the house. Like that sort of thing that was a little too much for me. I think the only thing I was ever upset with them about it was, I remember it was Valentine's Day. Maybe I was in third grade, fourth grade, maybe. And I might have told this story. I went to a private school, so there was only a handful of black faculty. I think we had a music teacher, and then maybe a music teacher and something else. So there might have been two, and they were both women. And one day in class, I was doing my usual thing, being the class comedian. So she kicked me out of class. So as I walked out of class, I chucked up the deuces and walked out. So when I walked out, I gave the peace sign. I was like, all right then, and walked out, went to the principal's office. I was like, all right, I'll sit here until she's done. I went back to class. So carried on with the day. It's Valentine's Day. We have the little bake sale. I have my little couple dollars. I'm like, it's over with. It was raining this year. Never forget. Because they called my mom, whatever. Okay, I kicked out of class, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So when she comes to pick me up, she had a different look on her face. It wasn't the, hey, I'm here to pick you up. It was a cold stare, we'll just call it. And I was confused. Like, what is she so upset about? I got kicked out of class before. It's not that big of a deal. So I get in the car, and she says, so what happened today? I told her I made an errant comment, got kicked out. She's like, yeah, well, your teacher told me that the music teacher said you flipped her off before you walked out of class. I said, whoa. What do you mean I flipped her off? She's like, she said she kicked you out of class. You gave her the middle finger as you walked out of class. I said, Mom. Snarky remarks? That's me. Cracking jokes in class? That's me. Flipping the black teacher off? No. I'm not flipping any teacher off, let alone the black teacher. I didn't do that one. Like that. There's no way. I know you don't believe that. Well, that's what she said, and so on and so forth. So you already know what time it is when you get home. I was like, but Mom, I didn't do that. I don't want to hear it. So at the time, we didn't have a super duper VCR like my aunt did, so she could record Saturday morning cartoons when they came out. This is before TiVo and DVR and all that type of stuff. So in my kid brain, I tried to delay the punishment as far as I could, and I told her, can we go to Auntie's house and pick up the tape? She's like, nope. Are we going to go get pizza? Because it's nope. I was fresh out of ideas. So we go home. I already knew what time it was. Went straight to the room. I'm pacing. I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Sure enough, 5 minutes later, here she came with the belt. It was wappy time. And this was probably, this wasn't even the top 5 ass whoopings I took. It was probably the worst one I took because I knew I didn't do it. I knew I was getting punished for something that I didn't do. And that was what made this one worse than it. Like, all the other ass whoopings I got from my parents, I deserved. Like, I earned them. So you can't really be too mad at a punishment that you earned. Like, yeah, I got suspended from school, or yeah, I stayed out past curfew, or yeah, I did something you told me not to do. So, all right, I'll take that ass whooping. Whatever. But this was the one where I was kind of like, damn. See, not only do you not believe me, but I'm taking this ass whooping for it. Like this is the business. Like, that's not what's up. So I understand. I don't understand. I can only imagine what it's like to be in a situation where your parents don't show you love or respect, or anything like that, or they push their ideals on you and so on and so forth. I'm saying all this because it made me think again of top 5 in her relationship with her daughter, because she didn't necessarily have the best upbringing. And so her relationship with her parents wasn't the best. But yet, even though her relationship with her parent, well, not even her, because she was adopted. I found out later, her and her sister had been adopted by a foster family. So the gentleman and lady that she called mom and dad were actually her foster parents. She didn't know her real mom. So to have the relationship that she had with her foster parents, which she told me wasn't the best, to then turn around and have the sort of relationship she had with her daughter was just a beautiful thing. Because she always made sure that she was trying to do the best thing for her daughter. To describe top 5, she's about 5 foot, 110, 120, something like that. But she wasn't scared of much. A lot of times she used me as a guard dog. This was evident when we would go to the park. We would go to the park, take her daughter out there, and if there was a man specifically, if there was a man out there by himself, she would always walk up to him and be like, "Yeah, so how old is your kid?" And if they answered, "Well, I don't have one," she'd be like, "Well, you need to leave." I would always say, top 5, you can't do that. She was like, "Yes, I can. I just did." Like, I'm not going to, excuse me, you're not on my watch. Like, you're not going to be out here just hanging out at the park, being a creepy dude. And I was like, but I go to the park by myself. She's like, yeah, but that's different. You don't hang around the playground. Like, you go far away, you go do whatever you're doing, and then you leave. Like, you're not sitting by the playground when you don't have any kids. I was like, okay, that's a fair point. I can see what you're saying. And it was the extent she went for her child just knew no bounds. And that was always something that I could respect. And it made me think of my parents. And it made me think of, because as a child, I just thought, they sent me to private school. Like, whatever. I guess private school is the same as public school. But now as an adult, I realize you have to pay $7, $8, maybe $1,000 a month to send your kid to get this kind of education. And she wasn't financially in a place to where she could do that. But whatever it took, she made it happen. And it made me think back to things that I didn't necessarily appreciate. Like, when I look at my resume and I think of the jobs that I had for all those years, I was a personal assistant. And a lot of those skills I learned was from my dad. No, the skills, I didn't think about it at the time as he was teaching me these things, like making eye contact with people when you talk to them, how you, little things, having respect for everybody, treating your wait staff with respect, your waiter, your waitress, even the cashier at McDonald's. He would always, one of the things I picked up from him was when we would go to, even if it was something at McDonald's, Jack in the Box, something, and it was obvious that the cashier was having a hard time, male or female. We'd order our food, and then he'd say, yeah, I don't see it on the menu, but how much is the smile? And every time it would catch them off guard, and they would just instinctively smile. I'd say, oh, no, that's free. Like, oh, all right, man, hope you're having a good day, so on. And it was kind of ingrained in me, like, you're not above anyone. And you have to treat people with respect. And this, of course, blended into my work life. That, and then a lot of the skills that I learned from him because I had my first job with him. I learned all my phone skills. I learned how to interview people, how to hire people, how to fire people, how to dress for a job, showing up on time. As a matter of fact, one of the times, because he was my dad, so I was like, nepotism is in full effect. I'll show up when I want to show up. If I'm a couple minutes late, whatever. Punch my time card. So I was supposed to be at work at 8:00. He didn't get to work till 9:30, but my responsibility was open up the building, turn the lights on, get the phones going, answer any messages that were on the phone overnight, and just get the office up and running. Even though we didn't open till 9, I needed to be there an hour early because that's what he was paying me for. So maybe Monday I showed up about 9:15, a couple minutes before he got. Now, mind you, we live together, so he knows when I'm going to work. Next day, same thing, 9:15, show up. Wednesday, show up again. So Wednesday at about 12, we calls into the little conference room, and this is what I had to respect. He didn't just say, "Yo, hey, come here," and then gave me the lecture. He treated me like I was a real employee. Like, he really called me into the conference room. It was like, he pulled up my timesheets and everything, and he was like, "Hey, so what time are you supposed to be at work?" I was like, "Oh, I thought I was supposed to be here at 9." He's like, "Oh, really? So that means that I'm going to go through all of your timesheets for the last 6 months, and I'm going to deduct an hour from all of your timesheets, and you're going to owe however much time that is." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Jesus, you don't got to do all that. I'm supposed to be here at 8. He's like, "So if you're supposed to be here at 8, why are you showing up at 9:15? I said, "Why does it matter, man? It's me and you. Like, we run the office. Why does it matter?" He's like, "It matters because that's the time you're supposed to be here. You said you would be here at 8:00. That's what I'm paying you for. Like, what happens when you have another job and I'm not your boss and you decide that you want to show up an hour or so late? Like, you're going to get fired. And you need to respect this job, number one. You need to have some integrity. If this is what you signed up to do, then this is what you need to sign up to do. If you don't want to come until 9 and you can't handle it, then I'll find someone else who could do it." And I was like, "Okay, I can respect that. You're right. I shouldn't have did that. Let me bring my punk ass in here at 8. And so it also, well, I was glad that he did that because now in my work life, I'm an exemplary employee because I understand what it takes not only to run a business, but to be a good employee. So the types of things that he taught me are the things that I'll never forget. And going back to top 5, I feel like her daughter will be the same way. Like, even though she's not here anymore, there's certain morals and standards that she ingrained in her that she'll hopefully keep forever. That'll hopefully. Jesus. Really, again, sorry. This got me thinking about some of the morals and such the moral aspect of it too, is that there's no book to being a parent. Like, there's no guidelines, there's nothing like that. Like, you're pretty much on your own. Even if you come from a 2-parent household and your parents were the best, that doesn't necessarily mean that they had all the right answers or they taught you the right thing. And you can't take it personal. If your mom was a single mom, an alcoholic or whatever, she did the best she could do. If you were raised by your dad and he was always working and he wasn't there to have daddy-daughter time or daddy-son time, you can't really hold it against him. I mean, if you made it to 18, they did their job. I know people now who are still holding on to stuff from when they were kids, from 4th, 5th, 6th grade. Well, my mom did this and my mom did that. It's like, bro, let it go. Let it go. It's over. Like, it's not a science. Like, there is no algorithm to being the perfect parent. I mean, shit, look at me. I came from a 2-parent household. My parents were decent, to say the least. Like, they held it down, and I still had my missteps. So it's kind of a cop out, and when I hear people say that, you're not really taking responsibility for your life. Like, your parents made their mistakes just like you made your mistakes, so don't try to hold them to this higher standard. Now you're on your moral high horse. Oh, well, I would have did this and I did that. You don't know what they were going through. You don't know what they were holding on to from when they were a kid. Like, people make mistakes, man. I mean, at the time, they might have thought that was the best thing. It turned out it wasn't. Hey, I can't. As long as they fed you, clothed you, provided you shelter, gave you a little love and affection, the right kind of love and affection, I can't really argue with you. I mean, you have to come to grips with what it was. You have to accept that this is what happened and then move on. I really say you got to forgive and forget, and if not, just move on. It happens. Not everyone can be a perfect parents like President Trump. But yeah, man, that was my Labor Day. I was really just thinking about that because I know that seems to be a lot of things. Whenever I talk to people and they talk about how things could have been different, they always reference their parents and how their parents did this and their parents did that. And it's like, man, you've got to hold on to what you've got now, and you've got to deal with the situation now. I know, especially with me, like as I said countless times, and all the people that have passed and how I miss them, it made me really think, how do I resolve this now? How do I deal with these emotions now? And it really makes me want to just go through my phone list and just start texting every number I've got. Because another podcast I like, shout out to Drink Champs, Nori. One of their taglines is, you have to give people their flowers while they're alive. And I'm guilty of this. Sometimes in life, you get so caught up with what you're doing and how you're living your life that you forget about other people in your life. So, I mean, especially it's like I was watching the wedding video, and I was looking at all the people that came to the wedding, and I thought, when was the last time I talked to them? Like really, like when was the last time I called them, chopped it up with them, even just, hey, how you doing? Like, just wanted to see what's going on with you, what's new. Like, that's, with technology being what it is, and when you have the ability to reach out across the world and talk to people you don't know, sometimes it's lost that you don't talk to the people you do know. And just like resenting your parents for something that they did or didn't do, or whether they knew they did it or didn't, it happens with friends. Somebody could have said something, whether they knew it or not, or you felt a certain type of way about someone, or you felt disrespected, something like that, and you stop talking to that person. And then when they pass away, you have the feeling of, you know what, that was silly. I was upset with them because they spilled some soda on the carpet, or they didn't talk to me, or something like that. And then you have this big regret and this, I don't know how to describe it. You have this feeling of this longing to resolve a situation that you know you can never resolve now. And you wish that you could tell them to their face how you really felt. It's like, I was upset, but, I still really love you. We're friends. Let's move on past this. So I think that's what I'm going to do today. I'm probably going to text some people, make some phone calls, and just tell people, not even tell them why. Just say, oh, well, this happened, so this is why I'm calling you. But just make sure that I keep my circle of friends closer. If I'm even saying that right, I don't think so. But just checking in on people, because you never really know what people are going through. Like, yeah, because I know there's been times, again, where I was dealing with stuff and no one knew. Because, I mean, hey, it's the best day ever. So a lot of times I think that when I say that to people, or they know that I'm known for saying that, they feel like, oh, you've always got it under control. And it's like, no, I don't. I don't. To quote De La Soul, he said, people always look at me for guidance. And I tell them, shit, I need guidance myself. As much as I pretend to have it all together, I don't have it anywhere close to having it together. And I think most people don't. And a lot of times, all it could take is a phone call or a text message from a friend. Like, hey, how you doing? I just want to check on you, make sure everything's good. I haven't talked to you in a while. I mean, you don't even have to want anything. I think a lot of times, sometimes people will call because they want something. Oh, I need help with this or help with that. And it'll do more than you know to call someone and just be like, hey, I was just thinking about you. Remember that time such and such happened? Maybe we should get together, go to dinner or something, take somebody to lunch, something like that. That might be the thing today. That might be what I do. Huh. You guys have inspired me. Look at that. We're inspiring each other one day at a time. So yeah, man. Top 5 all world. Miss you. Like that was something else. Now, moving on to a little lighter subject. So we're gonna have new episodes every Tuesday. So what we're gonna do is every Tuesday is when we'll have new episodes. And next week on Thursday, we're gonna have new episodes of a new segment. You guys are gonna love it. It's called That's Not My Business. So what we're going to do is we're still not going to talk about the three taboo subjects: politics, sports, and religion. We're going to leave that for somebody else, somebody who's a little bit more weathered. But what I am going to do is it'll be pop culture stuff. So and so broke up with so and so. This person did this. This person stole this money. R. Kelly isn't guilty. Because I get it. It's fun talking about how we can change stuff. I mean, sometimes you got to laugh. And y'all are going to make me cry every week if we got to talk about this. Like, we got to talk about some funny stuff. I know Black Ass Mike was fun. That was fun. We're going to have another episode like that, too. That's coming up. But yeah, man. Oh, we already talked about Spotify, iTunes. What else do we got? We have got... I know. So we'll end this on a high note. One of my favorite memories with top 5 is the yellow dress. So there was this dress that she used to wear that was Big Bird yellow, and it was her light tower, we'll say. A light tower meaning when people surf or people who are in the ocean a lot, they need we call it a light tower or Jesus, I can't even think of it. A point of reference. So like if you're surfing and you see the light tower and it's lined up with another object, you know that you're in the right area. But if you get too far away from the light tower, then you know you need to move back a little bit. So this dress fit her when she was doing her modeling days. So whenever we were going out and I knew she was trying to feel really special, she would throw on the yellow dress. And we had a little bit of a system going out. Because remind you, we looked like the odd couple. I'm 6'2", 290, damn near 300, and she's 5 foot, 110, 120. So I doubled as a designated driver and a bodyguard because guys would always think twice about talking to her. They could be like, well, there's this big ass black dude with her. Like, I don't know what I should do. So a lot of times we drank before we got there. So when people would buy her drinks, when they were talking, they would be going back and forth, having a conversation, whatever. So we would make eye contact from across the room. She would usually slide me a drink. Bam. I'd put it back. She would fake like she drank it. And the guy would be like, "Woo, you drank the whole thing?" She'd be like, "Yeah, come on, where's the next one?" And that was kind of our game. Like, that's what we would do. The guys would buy her drinks, but they were really for me. And it was like, oh, that is so sweet of you. One particular night that I'll never forget, I was on one of my dry spells of not drinking, and it was top 5. The Green Bay fan, JWoww, and there was another lady with them. I can't recall her name. So there was 4 of them, and just me. So we went to the first bar. The yellow dress is on in full effect. We go to the first bar. I want to say it was the Latin bar. So we go there. Wait. That's not where the story started. It was Cinco de Mayo. That's why I won't forget. Because it was top 5, the Green Bay fan, JWoww, and another young lady who I don't remember. And we went to the Tamale Festival that they have in Sacramento at Discovery Park. Now, they were lit. And it had to be at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So that ended at maybe 5. So I drive them back to the Green Bay fans' house, where everybody drinks some water, sleeps it off a little bit to get ready for the night. So they're pre-gaming. Now, mind you, I'm stone cold sober. I wasn't drinking. I was on one of my off phases. So we go to the Latin club. So they're out there. They're having a good time, fist pumping away. So the girl whose name we don't remember, she wasn't drinking either. She was just hanging out, having a good time. So they get kicked out of the first bar because Top 5 and JWoww, I guess, threw a drink on somebody, and the Green Bay Packer fan punched her in the face. So we get kicked out of that one. So then we go to Whiskey Wild, which is, well, I think it's closed down now, but that was another Sacramento favorite. And at this bar, they would let you climb on the counter and dance on the bar. So this is why it was a favorite for most people, because when they got drunk, they wanted to get on the bar. So they get up on the bar, they're doing their thing, and JWoww falls off the bar. Just so she's embarrassed, as anyone would. So we're like, we had enough. She's embarrassed. She doesn't want to talk to any of the guys here now. So we drive to the third bar. So we park the car maybe 6-7 blocks away. So we're on feet now. Now, mind you, I know exactly where we're at because I'm sober. So we walk to the bar. On K Street in Sacramento, there's maybe 4 or 5 bars in a row. So we hit all those up. The yellow dress is in full effect. They're getting drinks one after the other. Drink, shots. So, unfortunately, our night comes to an end. And we are walking back to the car. And Top 5 is like, "Oh, is there a bathroom?" And her like, "I have to pee." I was like, "Nah, sorry, bro. There's no bathroom." So she's like, "All right, hey, make sure nobody's coming." She hikes her dress up and just starts to pee on the sidewalk. I know. So I'm cracking up when this happens. I'm dying. So of course, at that moment, CHP drives by. So I was like, "Oh, she's going to jail. Like this isn't how the night was supposed to end." So as the CHP drives by, it's 2 male officers, and they see the whole thing. So I'm waiting for them to hop out and arrest her. So they say to her, "Yeah, real classy." She goes, "Thank you. That's what I was aiming for." So they have a laugh and they drive off. And I was like, wow, that didn't go how I expected. So we're walking back, and now JWoww and the Green Bay Packer fan are yelling at each other. And they're talking about how she's like, "Oh, I can't believe you were making out with that guy," and this and this and this. And they're yelling and going back and forth. So, and I'm directing them to the car. We're about a block away. We finally get to the car. JWoww gets all the way into the back. It's like a Ford Explorer we were driving. So she gets into the third row. The other lady who we won't mention gets into the front. The Green Bay Packer fan sits in the second row, and Top 5 sits in the second row. But before this could happen, the Green Bay Packer fan and Top 5 get in at the same time, and they're so drunk, they try to step up to get into the Explorer because they're both under 5'2". They both fell out of the car at the same time and fell on their backs like turtles and just couldn't get up because they were so drunk. Now, mind you, I know this isn't the best story to tell, but at the time it was hilarious, and this was just indicative of the times that we had. So we dust him off, get him into the car, and before I could get the car started, JWoww starts going off. "I can't believe you guys are doing this, and this, and this, and this, and you're so drunk." She throws her shoe, and it hits the Green Bay Packer fan in her face. Now, mind you, Top 5 and the Green Bay Packer fan are sisters. So when she throws the shoe and it hits her in the face, Top 5 is like, "Bitch, what's your problem? Something." She jumps into the back and proceeds to beat the shit out of JWoww. Now, mind you, JWoww was probably 5'7", 5'8", probably 150. But it didn't matter that day because Top 5 whooped her ass. And I finally I break them up. I pull them apart. I make Top 5 sit in the front. I make the other girls switch spots. And the rest of the car ride was pretty quiet. I turned some music on and tried to lighten the mood up, but it wasn't going to happen. It was an awkward car ride home. But the great part was in the morning, they forgot that it even happened. They were like, "Why does my face?" I was like, "Bro, I don't know. You guys fell." Like, it was, I don't know. It was weird. But yeah, man. Wow, the life and times of Top 5. Damn, I miss her already. So yeah, man. I don't know how to segue from that. Yeah, don't forget. So yeah, iTunes, Spotify. We already talked about that. Make sure to follow me at Tru Sav Comedy, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I guess the lesson we learned today was tell your friends and family you love them. Make sure to check in on your friends if you haven't talked to them in a while. Because remember, you can't get yesterday back. You might not get tomorrow. So that makes it the best day ever. All right, man. Peace.